Hello guys, it's your boy Nesto and welcome to another Diablo 4 video. And on this video I want to show you what I think is the best sorcerer build at the moment in the game besides ice shards, and it's a conjuration build. This build is a Hydra's focus build, so the Hydra is gonna do most of the damage, but also your companions like Light Spear and Ice Blades are gonna help as well. Now I was able to clear T100 with this build. This build capable of soloing T100, which is one of the best range builds in the game for clear high-end content, especially in Nightmare Dungeons. I was also able to pretty much do PvP, plenty of PvP, and it's also really powerful as well. I was really surprised how I was basically decimating enemies, especially when they try to gank me, so you can see in the footage. So this is gonna be my last sorcerer's build for now. I really don't like the way Blizzard is taking the direction of this class. We already know it's the lowest class in the game, even though I liked it and I was able to pretty much play through it. But at the moment, I feel like the way things going, I'd rather try something else until we get some love and get our well-deserved buff that this class is screaming at the moment. However, if I had to do another sorcerer, if I do in the season, this is definitely the build that I'm gonna be rocking on because it's just so much fun, and it just targets. I still love my Meteor, but this one I think is the one that gave me better results in terms of high clear content. Now let's start with the skills. The skills that we're gonna use in this build is gonna be Flame Shield, pretty much to apply Immobilize. We're gonna have a aspect I'm gonna show you in a minute, but Flame Shield is really important for this build for the fact that we're gonna use our enchantment as a flame shield. This is gonna protect you every time that you get thrown with one-shot mechanics. It's basically a cheat death enchantment. And then we're gonna use Frost Nova, of course. Like any other sorcerer build, you have to have Frost Nova, otherwise your build will suck. And then we're gonna use a teleport, but of course we're gonna be using the unique, the Reign of the Infinite, just to get the stun while we jump into enemies. Then we're gonna be using Ice Blade, which basically gonna help you to have an additional source of vulnerable skill, so we don't have to rely only on the Frost Nova, especially where we are at range. So it comes really handy, especially when you want to burst enemy down from distance. And then Hydra, of course, is gonna be our main skill of this build. So it's gonna be our main source of damage, especially with burning elites and boss down. And then we're gonna have Lightning Spear, which it's gonna help you to stun enemies when it creeps across the room. The good thing about this skill is that it searches like way ahead, so sometimes you don't even know where the Lightning Spear is, but when you're in the next room, they're already stunned or they're already Frost Nova, because we have the Frost Nova enchantment that basically is gonna our Conjuration skill will have 30% lucky chance to unleash Frost Nova when hitting enemies. So this is gonna help us to apply Frost Nova from range. Although the lucky chance of the Conjuration has been nerfed severally, but I still feel like the Frost Nova is still the best enchantment for the fact that this build has high lucky chance, so you still see the procs here and there. Alright, for our skills, pretty much we're gonna go all over here. I'm gonna jump into the defensive. The defensive is still pretty much the same in terms like my Meteor build. We have 4 ranks in here just to have more uptime, and then we're gonna grab the Shimmering Flame Shield for the 50% missing life when it procs. So you're gonna have this when you're dying, which becomes even more useful when you're about to die and you get the automatic flame shield, so you're able to prop flame shield very often. And we're gonna have teleport here, 7 ranks. We want to have as much ranks as possible, especially after the cooldown reduction nerf. We're still gonna have the same modifier to grant us damage reduction for 3 seconds. We still have elemental attunement. This build not only has a lot of burning damage, but also has a lot of crit, so it's still good. And on top of that, we have a lot of lucky chance, so it's still good to have at least 1 point just in case you need an additional flame chain, especially on sticky situation. We're gonna have 3 ranks of class cannon. You can go up to 4. You feel comfortable because you're gonna be pretty much fighting from range. Then you have Frost Nova, pretty much we already know the drill. We need to grab that vulnerable modifier. And then for our Conjuration skill, we're gonna have Precision Magic for Lucky Chance, so will help us to proc Frozen more often. We have 12 ranks of Hydra, and we're gonna have, this is very important, guys, we need to have Summon on Hydra, because this is gonna apply a snatcher of burning of the skill. So it works very similar to a firewall, and the snatcher that you can apply with Hydra is really nasty. So having this instead of invoke Hydra, I was using this before and I'm like, well, this is kind of trash. And I tried this and it just completely changed my opinion on Hydra, and this is what made Hydra really strong. Okay, we're gonna have 5 ranks in Ice Blade and Lightning Spear, and we're gonna go all the way to Summon Ice Blades to reduce our cooldown when applied when they start smacking enemies around. And then for Lightning Spear, we're gonna have Invoke Lightning Spear, which is gonna stun enemies when critical striking. On this section, we're gonna have 4 ranks, which you can get up to 6 double grade, but unfortunately I didn't get lucky with my amulet. But the more you have here, the better, because Hydra is considered a pyromancer skill, so the more you have, the better. And you don't have to pretty much spec into glass cannon, so you can get almost similar damage when you're healthy. Since you are doing damage from range, you're pretty much healthy most of the time. So the more you have here, the better. We're still gonna have the Roaring Blaze, but we're not gonna grab Creeping Flames because the lucky chance is still kind of low. And then this is gonna be just to grab that 21%, since now the immobilize effect is not as much. We're still gonna have some immobilize in this build, but it really doesn't matter now with the nerf, thanks to the Ice Shard build got this talent nerf, unfortunately. So yeah, that's it is what it is. Now, in our ultimate, we're not gonna have any ultimate in this build. We're gonna grab some passive fear. We're gonna have permafrost, but here it doesn't matter. We want to have Horde of Frost just to increase the damage to frozen enemies. So when you frost Nova, that's 80% right there. And then here we're gonna have Endless Pyre just to increase the burning damage for enemy each second they remain burning up to 50%. Which is gonna help us with that sweet snapshot. And then here on the key passive, we're gonna have Ace of Ferocity, because we don't have that many sources of fire. I'd rather have this for having a nice balance of dot and also crit. So this is what makes Hydra really terrifying, because not only you're gonna get a nasty snapshot of the burning, but you're also gonna crit most of the time. Okay, now for our gear, pretty much on the head, we're gonna have 4 ranks of Hydra. We're gonna have total armor here, lucky chance while you have a barrier, and cooldown deduction. I would definitely drop the armor over intelligence, but we already lost so much armor, so I'd rather keep that in there. And then for the aspect, we're gonna have flame shield, which is, I was really sleeping on this aspect for the fact that sometimes when you're in close range, one of the problems of what causes you your death is that you get stuck between enemies because of the collision. This eliminates that problem. And not only that, you're able to dance through enemies and apply vulnerable for 3 seconds while you have your flinching up. This is gonna help you to add a little more damage with Burning Blade, especially when you want to burn Elite. Gonna have the Raiment of the Infinite, of course. We already know about this chest. And then we're gonna have on our hand, we're gonna have crit chance, attack speed, intelligence, and lucky chance. Okay, we also gonna have this aspect where you're gonna grant crowd control for 20%, but also you're gonna get damage to unstoppable targets for 40%. I think this got nerfed. I believe it was 50, so it got nerfed by 10%. But it's still really good, especially when you have enemy that got unstoppable real quick. The Hydra doesn't matter. It doesn't respect if you have unstoppable or not. This is actually gonna make it worse for elites with Hydra. For our pants, we're gonna have damage reduction. I'd rather have distant enemies, but when I haven't got the roll or damage to burning enemies, I think those are better than close, because close pretty much doesn't happen very often unless you get rush through the dungeon. But we have some damage reduction here on the last affix, intelligence. So if I had to change here, it would be the close range for distant or burning enemy. Now for the aspect, I still have disobedience, but if I had to change disobedience, the one that gives you 25% on crowd control or vulnerable enemies as a DR will be better, but right now I don't have, like I said, I don't have a better pants. I tried to find better pants before the season ended, but unfortunately my RNG was terrible, so I was not able to get the rolls that I wanted. And then for our boots, we're gonna have ranks of Force Nova, ranks of Teleport, and Intelligence and Movement Speed. We're still gonna have that aspect, grant you luck hit. One, you have a barrier, so this is really important, especially to help us with this Force Nova. On our weapon, pretty much we're gonna have all stats, intelligence, crit damage, and vulnerable damage. And we're gonna have H Masters here because this build, as you notice, the only skill that have mana is Hydra. That's it. Everything else is a cooldown, so pretty much you're gonna have no mana issues, and you're gonna have almost your entire resource full for the most part. So Edge Master makes sense here. For our amulet, this is the best that I got. It's not a bad amulet, but I'd rather have, instead of rank, either 3 ranks of Inner Flames or Conjuration damage. That will be for me the best in slot. And then cooldown reduction, of course. It still needs to be there, it's mandatory. We're still gonna rock the same aspect to grant us like damage to immobilize, stun, and frozen enemies. Now, since I mentioned that we're not gonna have any resource issues, you don't need any resource aspects, so we're gonna use as much damage as possible. In this ring, I got the 20% when to do vulnerable damage targets when you have a barrier up. So we have pretty much 5 cooldowns. You pretty much are gonna have barriers for the most part, and then we're gonna have an additional 25% when you have a barrier active. Again, this build is gonna have a lot of barriers, so it's just easy damage there. For the rolls, you wanna have lucky hit, vulnerable damage, crit damage, and critical chance. So pretty much that's the stat that you want in here. And then for our offhand, we're gonna have the aspect for Hydra. It got buffed actually, so we're gonna have pretty much only 10% penalty, but we're gonna have 10% uptime thanks to our one on the glyph that I'm gonna show you in a minute. We're still gonna have lucky chance, crit chance, cooldown dodge, and intelligence, and that's pretty much for the gear. Now in terms of stats, pretty much the stats, even though with the crit damage nerf we were able to bump this to even more. I used to have like 173 or something like that, cannot remember, like a lower. But now with the destruction glyphs, pretty much applies to every single skill instead of just core skills, and you get a tons of crit damage. We actually have more crit damage than before. Vulnerable damage, we lost that 40% there. I used to have 203, so yeah, it is what it is. So we lost that with the nerf, but it's still strong. And then we had damage with the burning, almost 650%, and damage with conjuration 304, technically 305. So that pretty much is just putting some work with the Hydra, especially when you have the snatch up with the fire. Now for the lucky chance, we have up to almost 60%, so that's actually really nice. And the lucky barrier up to 30%, so technically I have 90% most of the time, and this is without a potion. So even with the nerf of the Conjuration, I still see that Frost Nova proc. Even with the nerf of the Conjuration skills with the lucky hit, I still see Frost Nova proc very often, especially if you have a potion even more. So having that in there is actually really, really sweet. Now for our Paragon Board, pretty much we're gonna start with the first glyph, which is gonna be Enchanter. This is gonna grant us a bunch of non-physical damage, but also it's gonna boost some of the rare nodes around the glyph. And then for our first board, we want to have Enchantment Master, because like I said, we want to chase as much non-physical damage as possible, and we're gonna have some exploit glyph for the vulnerable damage in here. In our main board, we're gonna chase Elemental Summoner. This is gonna help us to have up to 15% cooldown reduction on our conjuration skills. It's 5 per conjuration skill that you have equipped. For our glyph, we're gonna have Tactician. This is gonna boost our conjuration skill damage and also grant us 10% damage increase when you have a defensive skill active. Now for the third board, we want to have Frigid Fate. Pretty much is gonna grant us a lot of vulnerable damage across this section here on the glyph. And we're gonna have Conjurer. Conjurer is gonna grant you an insane amount of Conjuration skill damage, but also increase the duration of each Conjuration by 20%. So that's a lot of damage. Now for a fourth board here, we're gonna have Static Surge. Since we have Teleport and the Unique, we're gonna grant all the damage to some enemies in here. We're gonna have Destruction in this glyph, because it's gonna grant just not only a bunch of crit damage, but also now every single skill benefits from this glyph, not just core like before. So I think this is a nice buff and definitely kept our damage in check. And for our last board, we want Burning Instinct. Burning Instinct with all the intelligence and crit damage, it's gonna grant us up to 647% of burning. This makes Hydra terrifying. So yeah, that's the build, guys. So like I said, if I had to do a sorcerer, definitely this is gonna be the build, because this is it's so much fun. I do like the Meteor build, but in terms of high level content, it's gonna be a little more difficult for the fact that you don't want to be in close range. This build definitely is one of the best that I ever played in sorcerer, and it's so much fun PvP wise, PvE wise. So I hope you enjoyed and find this video helpful. If you like this type of content and you made it to this point of this video, I'm guessing you liked what I'm just uploading in my channel. So make sure to drop a like and a subscribe. I stream on Twitch every night, so if you want to see my builds in action and what I've been doing in Diablo 4, you can catch me in there. Now, if I do finish my class for the season really fast, I'm definitely gonna do another sorcerer, because I did really like my class and I think it's still fun for me personally. So even despite all the issues, I still enjoy the class. So hopefully, I don't know, maybe season 69 we'll get our Deceive buff. So I'll see you guys later. Take care.